I stood on the sidewalk outside my own house, my breath coming in short, angry bursts. Through the large bay window, I could see everything: my living room, my furniture, and at least 40 people crowded inside, holding champagne glasses and plates of fancy appetizers. My mother stood in the center of it all like a queen. Margaret wore a navy blue dress I'd never seen before, expensive looking. Her hair was done professionally. She was smiling that wide, fake smile she used when she wanted to impress people. And in her hands, held high above her head like trophies, were papers. Legal-looking documents. And a set of keys. My keys. Or copies of them. Next to her, my brother Brandon grinned like he'd won the lottery. He had his arm around Mum's shoulders, looking proud and excited. People were taking photos, actually taking photos of them together in my house. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so hard I had to clutch my purse against my chest to steady them. This wasn't supposed to be happening. Mum told me this party was at the community centre across town. She'd specifically said I shouldn't come because some family members were still uncomfortable around me. She'd been so apologetic about it on the phone. So understanding. So loving. It was all lies. Someone inside turned up the music. Mum raised one hand for quiet, and the room settled. I couldn't hear through the glass, but I could read her lips. I'd had years of practice reading Mum's lies. Brandon's new house, she was saying. Her mouth moved carefully around each word. So happy to celebrate. The crowd erupted in applause. People were hugging Brandon, shaking his hand, looking around at my walls, my floors, my furniture, like they were seeing it all for the first time, like it belonged to him now. My purse felt heavy against my ribs. Inside it was a manila envelope, documents that Diane, my best friend and paralegal, had helped me gather over the past 3 frantic days. Proof, evidence. The truth about what my mother had done. I'd suspected something was wrong. The weird questions Mum had been asking, the strange documents I'd received from the county office, the way she'd been so insistent about throwing this party at my house and then suddenly uninviting me. But standing here, watching her actually do it, watching her pretend to give away my house like it was hers to give, I felt something break inside my chest. This was the house my father built, board by board, wall by wall. He'd left it to me in his will, clear as day. And Mum had fought me for it, dragged me through court, called me selfish and manipulative. When she lost, I thought it was over. I was so stupid. Through the window, Mum caught sight of me. Our eyes locked across the distance. For just a second, her confident smile faltered. Her face went pale, then immediately hardened like ice. She said something sharp to Brandon without breaking eye contact with me. He turned, saw me standing there, and his expression changed from joy to panic to anger in seconds. He started moving toward the front door, fast. Mum turned back to her audience, that fake smile plastered on again. She was still talking, still holding up those papers and keys, still performing. My phone was already in my hand. I pulled up my messages with Diane and typed with trembling fingers. It's happening. She's doing it. I'm going in. The response came back immediately. Police are 5 minutes away. Stall if you can. Don't go in alone. But I was done waiting. Done being the good daughter who stayed quiet. Done letting Mum manipulate and control and steal from me. Brandon reached the door. I could see him through the frosted glass panel, reaching for the handle. I gripped the manila envelope tighter. Inside it was everything I needed. Proof of forgery. Proof of fraud. Proof that Mum and her husband Harold had created fake documents to steal my property. Proof that they'd bribed a notary. Proof of all their crimes. I had the power to destroy her right now, in front of everyone she'd invited to witness my humiliation. The door swung open. Brandon stood there, blocking the entrance, his face red. You need to leave, Claire. You're not invited. I looked past him at Mum, still performing for her audience, still pretending my house was hers to give away. Oh, I'm not leaving, I said quietly. We're just getting started. 2 years earlier. I sat in a cold conference room that smelled like old coffee and furniture polish. My father had been dead for 3 days, and I still couldn't believe he was gone. The funeral that morning had been brutal. I'd cried so hard I couldn't stand up straight during the service. Dad was my everything. The one parent who actually saw me, who believed in me, who told me I could do anything. Now he was gone, and I felt completely lost. Mum sat across the table from me, her face blank. She'd barely cried at the funeral, just dabbed at her eyes occasionally with a tissue, more for show than anything real. They'd been divorced for 12 years, but she'd insisted on sitting in the front row like she was the grieving widow. Brandon slouched in his chair next to her, scrolling through his phone. He'd shown up to the funeral 20 minutes late, wearing jeans. Mr. Peterson, Dad's lawyer, cleared his throat and opened a folder. He was an older man with kind eyes who'd known Dad for 30 years. Thank you all for coming during this difficult time. Thomas left very clear instructions about his estate. I tried to focus, but everything felt foggy. Unreal. The house on Maple Street, which Thomas built himself, goes entirely to his daughter Claire. My head snapped up. The house? Dad's house? The one he'd spent 2 years building with his own hands? Mr. Peterson continued reading. Additionally, Claire receives half of Thomas's savings account, totaling approximately $38,000. What? Brandon's voice was loud, angry. What about me? Brandon Carter receives Thomas's truck, his complete tool collection, and the remaining half of the savings account. An equal monetary value. But the house is Claire's. Per Thomas's explicit wishes, Mr. Peterson looked at Brandon over his reading glasses. Your father was very specific. I have his statement here if you'd like me to read it. Yes, Mum said sharply. Read it. Mr. Peterson pulled out another paper. I leave my house to my daughter Claire, who has always appreciated the value of hard work and home. I trust she will care for it as I did. She understands what it means. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Dad knew. He knew how much I loved that house, how many weekends I'd spent helping him build it, handing him nails, painting walls, planting the garden. This is garbage, Brandon said, standing up. I'm the oldest. I'm his son. I should get the house. Your father's will is legally binding and very clear, Mr. Peterson said calmly. Mum's eyes were cold and hard as she stared at me. This isn't right. Thomas wasn't thinking clearly at the end. He was in perfect health when he made this will, sharp as ever, I can assure you. I want it contested. Mum's voice was ice. This will, I want it challenged in court. My stomach dropped. Mum, no. Dad wanted. Your father was being manipulated. By you. She pointed at me like I was something dirty. You always were his favorite. Always whispering in his ear, turning him against Brandon. That's not true. My voice broke. I never. How convenient that you get the house, the valuable property, and your brother gets some old tools. The distribution is equal in monetary value, Mr. Peterson interjected. I can show you the assessment. I don't care about assessments. My son deserves that house. He's the man of the family now. Brandon nodded eagerly, feeding off Mum's anger like he always did. Mrs. Carter, I strongly advise against contesting this will. Thomas was of completely sound mind. You'll spend thousands in legal fees and lose. The courts don't look kindly on baseless challenges. We'll see about that. Mum stood, grabbing her purse. Come on, Brandon, we're getting our own lawyer. They left without another word to me. No hug. No comfort. Just cold fury that I'd gotten something they thought belonged to them. Mr. Peterson sighed. I'm sorry, Claire. Your father feared this might happen. He did. He knew your mother well. That's why he made everything so clear and legal. He wanted to protect you. He handed me the house keys. This house is yours, no matter what she tries. I closed my fingers around the keys Dad had held for years. They were still warm. Over the next weeks, I moved into the house slowly. Each room held memories. The kitchen where Dad taught me to make his famous chili. The back bedroom where I'd stayed on weekends. The porch where we'd watched sunsets and talked about everything. But the peace didn't last. Mum called constantly, demanding I be fair and give Brandon the house. When I refused, she stopped calling altogether. Brandon unfriended me on every social media platform, blocked my number. I told myself it was fine. I still had the house, I still had Dad's love, proven in every beam and board. Then the letter came. Official legal letterhead. A law firm I'd never heard of. Notice of will contest. Margaret Carter is formally challenging the validity of Thomas Carter's last will and testament on grounds of undue influence and diminished capacity. I read it 3 times before the words made sense. Mum was actually doing it, actually taking me to court. I called Mr. Peterson, my hands shaking. I told her this would fail, he said, frustration in his voice. But she's filed anyway. Claire, you'll need to defend yourself. This will cost money and time and put you through stress. I'm sorry. Can she win? No. But she can make you suffer, trying to prove she can't. That night, I sat in Dad's house, my house, and cried. Dad had left me this gift. This proof of his love. And Mom was going to punish me for it. The legal battle lasted 6 months, and felt like 6 years. I had to hire a lawyer I couldn't really afford. Had to take time off work for depositions and hearings. Had to sit in rooms while Mum's attorney called me manipulative and scheming. Said I'd taken advantage of a dying man's confusion. Except Dad hadn't been dying. He'd been completely healthy when he made the will. He'd died suddenly in a car accident 2 years later. I brought witnesses. Dad's friends who testified that he'd been sharp and clear about his wishes. His doctor who confirmed he'd had no cognitive decline. Mr. Peterson who explained in detail how carefully Dad had planned everything. Mum brought nothing but accusations and tears. Fake tears that dried up the second we left the courtroom. The judge saw right through it. This challenge is baseless, and frankly appears to be motivated by greed rather than genuine concern, he said from the bench, his voice stern. Thomas Carter's will is valid. The challenge is dismissed with prejudice. Then he ordered Mum to pay my legal fees. Almost $12,000. I thought I'd feel relief. Victory. But I just felt empty and sad. Mum glared at me as we left the courthouse. This isn't over, she hissed. But it was over. It had to be. I threw myself into the house. Repainted the living room in soft grey. Dad had always talked about using. Fixed the loose board on the porch. Planted roses in the garden like the ones Dad's mother used to grow. Every nail I hammered felt like healing. Every wall I painted felt like reclaiming something Mum had tried to poison. 8 months passed. Quiet months. Lonely months. I missed having a mother. Missed the idea of family, even if the reality had always been complicated. Then, one day, a letter arrived. Not from a lawyer this time, just a regular envelope with Mum's handwriting. My hand shook as I opened it. Dear Claire, I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of soul-searching. I've started seeing a therapist to work through my grief and my mistakes. I realize now that I let my pain over losing Thomas cloud my judgment. The will challenge was wrong. Taking you to court was wrong. You didn't manipulate your father. He loved you, and he had every right to leave you his house. I'm so sorry for the pain I caused. I'm sorry for not being the mother you deserved, especially when you were grieving too. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope someday we can rebuild our relationship. I miss my daughter. Love. Mum. I read it 5 times, cried over it, showed it to my best friend Diane. Don't trust her, Diane said immediately. Claire, this woman put you through hell. People like that don't just change. But what if she really is in therapy? What if losing the court case made her realize people like Margaret don't realize anything except new ways to get what they want? But I wanted to believe. I wanted my mum back, even knowing she'd never really been the mum I needed. I wrote back a cautious letter saying I appreciated her apology and maybe we could talk sometime. She called the next day, crying real tears this time. Or tears that sounded real. We started having dinner once a month. Just the 2 of us at quiet restaurants. She asked about my work, my life. Complimented my hair. laughed at my jokes. She seemed different, softer, more present. "I've been so wrong about so many things," she said one evening over pasta. "I let my favoritism toward Brandon hurt you. That wasn't fair. You're both my children. Is Brandon still angry with me? He's working through his feelings. Give him time." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "But I'm here now. I want to do better." I believed her. God help me, I believed her. 2 months into our reconciliation, she came to visit the house for the first time since the will reading. She walked through slowly, touching walls, looking at the changes I'd made. "Claire, this is beautiful. You've honored your father's work. He'd be so proud." I glowed under her praise like a starving plant finally getting water. "You know," she said carefully, stirring her coffee in my kitchen, "I've been thinking, Harold and I would love to throw a family reunion party, get everyone together, show that we're healing as a family." "That sounds nice. Would you mind if we had it here? Your house is so beautiful, and it would mean so much. A new beginning in the place that caused so much pain." Something flickered in my gut. A warning. But I pushed it down. "Sure, Mum. We can have it here." Her smile was bright and warm. "Perfect. Let me handle all the planning. It'll be my gift to you. My way of making things right." I hugged her at the door, feeling like maybe, finally, I had a mother who loved me. I didn't see the calculation in her eyes as she walked to her car. Didn't see her pull out her phone and text Harold. She agreed, the house is ours. I just felt happy. For the first time in 2 years, I felt like I had a family again. Mum took over the party planning with an intensity that should have alarmed me. She called every other day with updates. The guest list was growing. 50 people now. Family, old friends, neighbors. She'd hired a caterer, a real one, expensive. Not just ordering pizza like we usually did for family things. "Mum, this seems like a lot. Let me help pay for some of it." "Absolutely not. This is my gift to you, sweetheart. My apology. Let me do this." When I offered to help with planning, she waved me off. "I want it to be a surprise. A beautiful surprise. Just relax, and let your mother take care of everything." So I did. I worked on a big design project for a client, and let Mum handle the party details. But weird things started happening. One afternoon, I came home to find Mum in my kitchen, supposedly measuring for table placements. But she was taking pictures. Of everything. The living room, the hallway, even my bedroom closet. "Mum, what are you doing?" She jumped, startled. "Oh, just documenting how beautiful everything looks, for memories." "You're taking pictures of my closet." "I want to remember every detail, honey. This house is so special." It felt off, but I let it go. Then she started asking strange questions. "Have you thought about refinancing? Interest rates are good right now." "Not really." "Why?" "Just wondering. You could probably get better terms. Build equity faster." She said it casually, but her eyes were too focused. Too interested. "I'm happy with my current mortgage." Her face tightened for just a second. "Of course. Just thinking about your future." A week later, she brought it up again. I mentioned casually that I might refinance in a few months. Mum's reaction was immediate and intense. No, honey. That's a terrible idea right now. The timing is all wrong. You should wait. At least 6 months. Maybe a year." "Why?" "The market. It's unstable. Trust me, I used to be in real estate, remember?" "Wait." The force of her insistence made my skin prickle. I called Diane that night. "Am I being paranoid, or is my mum acting weird?" "Your mum is always weird. What's she doing now?" I told her about the photos, the questions about refinancing, the intensity about the party. "Claire, I don't like this. Something feels wrong." "She's probably just excited about the party, about us reconciling." Margaret doesn't get excited about reconciliation. She gets excited about winning. But I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to believe my mother had changed. The next week, Mum dropped her purse in my hallway. Papers spilled everywhere. I bent to help her pick them up. That's when I saw it. Printed articles about property law, estate transfers, quitclaim deeds. Mom, why do you have articles about property transfers? She snatched them from my hand. Harold is helping a friend with some real estate issues. Those must have gotten mixed in with my things. The explanation was smooth. Too smooth. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the weird moments, the photos, the questions, the papers. The next evening, I was upstairs when I heard Mum's voice downstairs. She'd let herself in with the spare key I'd given her for party planning. I was about to call out when I heard her tone. Sharp. Focused. She was on the phone. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. No, Harold. We need to make sure everything is ready before she suspects anything. The timing has to be perfect. My blood went cold. The party is in 10 days. That gives us just enough time if the county processes everything on schedule. Processes what? I know it's risky, but she trusts me now. She'll sign whatever I put in front of her at the party. She won't even read it carefully. Sign what? Brandon deserves this house. It should have been his from the beginning. We're just correcting Thomas's mistake. I clamped my hand over my mouth to keep from making a sound. Once everything is finalized, she can throw all the tantrums she wants. It'll be too late. Mum ended the call. I heard her moving around downstairs, humming to herself. I sat on the top stair, shaking. She was planning something. Something involving documents I would sign. Something that would give Brandon my house. When Mom left 20 minutes later, calling out a cheerful goodbye, I didn't answer. I immediately called Diane. You were right. She's planning something bad. Really bad. Tell me everything. I did. Every word I'd overheard. Diane was quiet for a long moment. Claire, I think your mum is trying to steal your house. We need to figure out how before it's too late. 3 days before the party, an official letter arrived from the county recorder's office. My hand shook as I opened it. Notice of pending title transfer. This is to inform you that documents have been filed to transfer property located at 247 Maple Street from Claire Carter to Brandon Carter. Standard waiting period applies. The paper slipped from my fingers. She'd already done it. Somehow, she'd already filed documents to take my house. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to Diane's office. This wasn't reconciliation. It was theft. I burst into Diane's office without knocking. She was on the phone but took one look at my face and hung up immediately. What happened? I thrust the letter at her. My whole body was shaking. Diane read it once, then again, her expression darkening with each word. When did you get this? 20 minutes ago. Diane, I never signed anything. I never agreed to transfer my house. How is this possible? She was already on her computer, typing rapidly. Give me the case number on that letter. I read it out to her. She pulled up county records, her eyes scanning the screen. They filed 2 weeks ago. There's a quitclaim deed here, a notarized statement supporting documents. She clicked through pages. And Claire, there's a signature here. Yours. That's impossible. I never signed. I moved behind her desk to look at the screen. There it was. My signature. On a quitclaim deed transferring my property to Brandon. Except I'd never seen that document before in my life. It's forged, I whispered. Diane zoomed in on the signature, studied it carefully. It's a good forgery. But look here, she pointed. The loop on your C is wrong, and you always cross your unt with a little upward flick. This one doesn't have that. Who would forge my signature? But I already knew. Mom. Or Harold. Or both of them together. I need copies of everything, Diane said, her voice hard and professional now. Every document in this filing. Can you get them? I called the county office right there, put it on speaker. They agreed to email everything within the hour. While we waited, Diane made more calls. To her boss. To a notary verification service. To a document examiner she knew. When the files came through, we printed everything and spread it across Diane's conference table. The quitclaim deed with my forged signature. A notarized affidavit claiming I was voluntarily transferring the property to my brother. supporting statements about family reconciliation, and correcting estate planning errors. It was elaborate, detailed, professionally done. "Look at the notary stamp," Diane said, pointing. "Richard Pemberton. Let me look him up." She searched the notary database. Retired accountant, last known address. She looked up at me. Same town where Harold used to work. Harold knew him. Harold paid him. Diane was typing again, pulling records. "I'm going to call this notary directly. Sometimes when you push, people crack." She made the call, put on her most official voice. "Mr. Pemberton, this is Diane Mercer with Morrison and Associates. I'm calling about a notarization you performed 2 weeks ago for a Claire Carter." I could hear a man's nervous voice on the other end, but couldn't make out words. "Yes, that's the one. I need to verify that you personally witnessed Miss Carter sign this document." A long pause. Then, the voice got more nervous. "Faster." Diane's eyes widened. "I see, and you're aware that notarizing a document without the signer present is illegal and can result in criminal charges." More stammering on the other end. "Mr. Pemberton, I strongly suggest you tell me the truth right now, or my next call will be to the State Notary Commission and the police." That broke him. I could hear the panic in his voice, even from across the desk. Diane grabbed a pen and started writing. When she hung up, her face was grim. "Harold paid him $5,000 to notarize documents without you present. He admitted everything. He's terrified now and willing to give a sworn statement." My legs felt weak. I sat down hard in the conference chair. They really did it. They actually forged documents to steal my house. "Yes. But here's the thing." Diane pulled up more information. "The transfer isn't finalized yet. There's a 30-day waiting period and a final verification step. I think that's what your mum was planning to do at the party. Get me to sign something else? Probably something disguised as innocent. Maybe a family trust document or a party guest book that's actually a verification form. Once you signed that, the transfer would be complete." I felt sick. She planned this for months. The reconciliation, the therapy story, all of it was just to get access to my house and my trust. Diane started pulling more records. Financial records this time. "Claire, your mum is broke. She's 3 months behind on her mortgage, facing foreclosure, and Brandon has massive credit card debt." She showed me the screens. Collections notices, final warnings, default notices. "They need your house. Not for sentimental reasons, for money. They're probably planning to sell it immediately and split the cash." Everything clicked into place. The fake reconciliation, the elaborate party, the forged documents. My mother had planned to rob me in front of 50 witnesses while making it look like a celebration. "We need to stop this," I said, my voice steadier now. Anger was replacing shock. "We can. We have proof of forgery, proof of bribery, a notary willing to testify." Diane looked at me seriously. "Claire, we could have your mother and Harold arrested. This is fraud, criminal fraud." "Good." She blinked, surprised by my tone. "She tried to steal my house. My father's house. The house he built for me." I stood up. "She pretended to love me just to rob me. What's the next step?" Diane smiled. A fierce smile. "We build an airtight case. Then we decide how you want to handle this." Over the next 2 days, we worked non-stop. Diane got the sworn statement from the notary, contacted a document examiner who confirmed the signature was forged, pulled email records through legal channels that showed messages between Mum and Brandon discussing the plan and getting the house back. The emails were damning. Once Claire signs at the party, everything will be locked in. Finally getting what should have been mine all along. Dad was an idiot to leave it to her. Reading Brandon's words hurt worse than I expected. We contacted a fraud detective at the police department. Showed him everything. He agreed it was clear-cut fraud, and they'd be ready to intervene when we gave the word. Diane also found the final piece of the puzzle. Mum had already contacted a real estate agent about listing my house. The listing was drafted and ready to go live the day after the party. They were going to sell it immediately. Before I even realized what had happened. She really thought this would work, I said, staring at the pre-written listing. She thought you were weak, that you'd just accept it. Diane looked at me. She was wrong. 2 days before the party, Mum called. Hi, sweetheart. I have a little change of plans. Some family members are still uncomfortable seeing you after all the will drama. I know it's not fair, but would you mind if we had the party without you? Just this once. We can do something special for you later. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was uninviting me from my own house. You want me to skip the party? At my house? I know it sounds strange, but it's for family harmony. Please, Claire? Do this for me? Every instinct screamed to confront her right then. But Diane and I had planned for this. Okay, Mum. If you think it's best. Oh, thank you, honey. You're so understanding. I'll make it up to you, I promise. She sounded relieved, triumphant. When I hung up, I looked at Diane. She banned me from my own house so I won't interfere with her theft. Perfect, Diane said. She thinks she's won. That's exactly where we want her. The morning of the party, I woke up at 6 with my stomach in knots. Today was the day Mum planned to steal everything from me, and today was the day I'd stop her. Diane arrived at my apartment at 8, with coffee and a thick folder of documents. Ready? She asked. Ready? We'd spent the past 2 days preparing everything. The fraud detective, Officer Martinez, had agreed to have units on standby. Diane's colleague, a lawyer named Kenneth who Mum had never met, would attend the party as a regular guest to observe and document. And I'd made some calls of my own. Dad's best friend Tom, a retired cop, Dad's old construction partner, Mike, 3 of Dad's cousins, who'd always been kind to me. I'd told them the truth about what Mum was planning. They'd been horrified, angry, and they'd all agreed to come to the party and witness what happened. Margaret invited us anyway, Tom had said on the phone. She wants a crowd. Well, she'll get one, but not the kind she's expecting. At 10 in the morning, I drove slowly past my house. Catering vans were already there, people setting up tables and chairs in my backyard. My backyard. Hanging decorations on my porch. Mum's car was in my driveway. She was inside my house, directing everything like she owned it. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. At noon, guests started arriving. I parked down the street where I could watch without being seen. Family members I hadn't talked to in years. Neighbors. Some of Dad's old friends. They walked into my house carrying gifts, smiling, dressed for a celebration. They had no idea what they were actually celebrating. At 1 o'clock, my phone buzzed. A text from Kenneth, the lawyer inside. Approximately 40 guests now. Margaret is playing hostess. Brandon is showing people around the house like it's his. Harold is in the corner, looking nervous. I texted back. Any sign of documents? Not yet. She's waiting for everyone to arrive. Diane sat in the passenger seat. Laptop open. Monitoring everything. She'd set up a group chat with Kenneth, Tom, and Officer Martinez. The police are 2 minutes away whenever we need them, she said. At 1:30, another text from Kenneth. Margaret just asked everyone to gather in the living room. She's holding a folder and what looks like keys. I think this is it. My heart hammered. Diane, it's happening. Then let's go. We got out of the car. I had the manila envelope in my hands. Inside was everything we needed. Proof of the forged signatures, the notary's confession, the emails between Mum and Brandon. Evidence of their fraud. Kenneth texted again. She's making a speech. About family. About correcting old wrongs. About Brandon deserving this house. I walked up to my own front door. My house. The one Dad built for me with his calloused hands and his love. I could hear Mum's voice through the walls. Loud. Performative. Playing to her audience. I used my key to unlock the door quietly. Diane followed me inside. The house smelled like catered food and expensive flowers. Music played softly from speakers. My speakers. We moved through the hallway toward the living room. I could see the crowd now, all facing Mum. Tom saw me first. He was standing near the back. He caught my eye and gave a small nod. Mike saw me next. Then Dad's cousins. One by one, the people who knew the truth, spotted me, and shifted positions, creating a subtle barrier between Mum and the door. Mum's voice rang out clearly now. And so, after much thought and with Claire's blessing, this house is returning to where it belongs, to its rightful owner, my son, Brandon. She held up papers triumphantly, the forged documents, and a set of keys she must have copied from mine. Brandon stood next to her, grinning like he'd won something. He already had his arm raised, waving to the crowd like a politician. Some people clapped uncertainly, others looked confused. I stepped into the doorway of the living room. That's interesting, Mom. Because I never gave you my blessing. For anything. The room went dead silent. Every head turned toward me. Mum's face cycled through emotions so fast I could barely track them. Shock. Panic. Then forced. Anger. Claire, what are you doing here? This is a private event. I walked into the center of my living room. My house. My space. Private event? In my house? That's funny. People started whispering, looking between me and Mum, confused. You said you understood, Mum's voice went shrill. You agreed to let Brandon have the house. We have documents. She waved the forged papers. You have forged documents. Fake signatures. Illegal paperwork. I held up my manila envelope. But I have real documents. Proof of fraud, forgery, attempted theft. Diane stepped forward, professional and intimidating in her grey suit. Kenneth moved to stand beside her. I'm Diane Mercer, paralegal with Morrison & Associates, Diane said clearly. We have extensive evidence that Margaret Carter and Harold Carter, with Brandon Carter's knowledge and participation, forged Claire's signature on property transfer documents and bribed a notary public to illegally transfer this house. The room erupted. Gasps. People turning to each other. Someone said, "What?" Brandon's face drained of all colour. He looked at Mum, then at me, then back at Mum. Harold, who'd been lurking near the kitchen, started edging toward the back door. Tom stepped in front of him, arms crossed. Harold froze. Mum's mask was cracking. This is ridiculous. Claire is lying. She's always been jealous of Brandon. I have proof, I said loudly, cutting her off. Bank records showing Harold paid a notary $5,000 to notarize documents I never signed. Emails between you and Brandon planning this whole scheme, a sworn confession from the notary himself. I pulled out the papers and held them up, just like she'd held up her forged documents. You planned this for months, didn't you? The fake reconciliation, the therapy story, all lies to get access to my house and my trust. Mum opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Brandon found his voice. Mum said you agreed. She said you felt guilty about taking the house from me. I didn't take anything. Dad left it to me. And you knew this was fraud, Brandon. I nodded to Diane, who held up printed emails. Your emails prove it. The guests were backing away from Mum and Brandon now, creating distance. Some looked angry, others just shocked. Tom spoke up from the back. I knew Tom Carter for 40 years. He built this house himself, left it to Claire in a clear, legal will. What Margaret is describing is theft, pure and simple. Other voices joined in. Dad's construction partner, his cousins, people who'd known the truth all along. Mum's face twisted. The mask was completely gone now. You ungrateful little brat. And there it was. The real Margaret. After everything I've done for you. Mum's voice was ugly now, all pretense gone. That house should have been Brandon's. Your father was a fool to leave it to you. The room went completely silent. Even the people who didn't know the full story looked shocked at her venom. My father knew exactly what he was doing, I said, my voice steady despite the tears burning behind my eyes. He knew you'd do something like this. That's why his will was so specific, so clear. He was protecting me from you. Protecting you. He was being manipulated by you. You always were his favorite, always whispering in his ear. I loved him, and he loved me. That's not manipulation. That's just love. Something you clearly don't understand. Mum lunged forward like she might hit me. Tom and Mike both moved, but they didn't need to. Diane stepped between us, her hand up. Mrs. Carter, I suggest you stop talking. Anything you say now can and will be used against you. As if on cue, there was a knock at the front door. Kenneth opened it. 2 police officers stepped inside. Officer Martinez, who we'd briefed, and his partner. Margaret Carter, Harold Carter, we need you to come down to the station to answer some questions about property fraud and forgery. Harold made a choking sound from the back of the room. Mum's face went from red to white. This is insane. You can't arrest me. I'm her mother. We're not arresting anyone yet, Officer Martinez said calmly. But we have evidence of criminal fraud, and we need statements. You can come voluntarily now, or we can do this the hard way. Brandon backed away from Mum like she was contagious. I didn't know it was illegal. Mum said Claire had agreed. She said it was all legal. I looked at him. My brother. The golden child who'd never had to face consequences for anything. You knew, Brandon. These emails prove you knew. I held up the papers. You talked about getting the house back and how Dad was an idiot to leave it to me. You knew exactly what was happening. His face crumpled. I needed the money. I'm drowning in debt, and Mum said this was the only way. The only way was to steal from your sister? He had no answer for that. Mum grabbed her purse, her hands shaking. Fine. We'll go to the station. But this isn't over. I'll sue you for defamation. For harassment. For what? Stopping you from committing fraud? Diane's voice was ice. Mrs. Carter, you forged legal documents. You bribed a notary. You attempted to steal property worth nearly $300,000. The evidence is overwhelming. I suggest you get a very good lawyer. The officers moved toward Mom and Harold. The party guests pressed back against the walls, making space. As Mum passed me, she stopped. Looked me right in the eyes. I wish I'd never had you. The words should have hurt. Maybe once they would have destroyed me. But standing in my house, surrounded by people who actually cared about me, I felt nothing but pity. I know, I said quietly. You've made that clear my whole life. But Dad wanted me. Dad loved me. And that's all that matters. Her face twisted with rage. But the officers guided her out before she could respond. Harold followed, looking 10 years older than when he'd arrived. Brandon stood alone in the middle of the room, looking lost. You need to leave, I said to him. Now. Claire, I'm sorry. I really am. You just chose money over family. Over me. Over what's right. My voice cracked. I don't want to see you. Not today, maybe not ever. Get out of my house. He left without another word. The room stayed frozen for a long moment. Then Tom started clapping. Slowly at first, then louder. Mike joined in. Then Dad's cousins. Then others. Your dad would be so proud of you, Tom said, his voice gruff with emotion. Standing up for yourself like that. People started leaving after that. Some stopped to hug me, to tell me they'd had no idea what Margaret was planning, to say they were sorry. Some left quickly, embarrassed they'd almost participated in my humiliation. Within an hour, the house was empty except for me, Diane, and Kenneth. I sank onto my couch and started crying. Real, deep sobs that came from somewhere I'd been holding locked for years. Diane sat beside me, holding my hand. You did it, she said softly. You stopped her. She really hated me. The whole time. All that reconciliation was fake. I know. I'm sorry. She was going to take everything. My house, my father's memory, everything. But she didn't. You won. Over the next weeks, the legal process unfolded. Mum and Harold were charged with fraud, forgery, and bribery. They took a plea deal to avoid trial. Probation. Community service. Restitution for my legal fees, every penny I'd spent defending myself. Harold lost his professional certifications. Mum's reputation in her social circle was destroyed. Everyone knew what she'd tried to do. Brandon wasn't charged criminally, But I filed a civil suit for his participation. He settled, paying me $20,000 he didn't have. He filed for bankruptcy 3 months later. I didn't feel good about any of it, just tired and sad. 3 months after the party, I stood in my kitchen repainting the walls. Yellow this time, bright and warm, Dad's favorite color. Diane helped me, music playing, windows open to the spring breeze. "Do you think you'll ever talk to her again?" she asked. I dipped my brush in the paint. Considered it. Maybe. Years from now. If she actually gets real help and takes real responsibility. But I'm not holding my breath. Your dad really did know what he was doing with that will. I smiled through the tears that came too easily now. He built this house for me. Every board. Every nail. He knew Mum would try something eventually. That's why he made everything so clear. He loved you a lot. Yeah, he did. That evening, I sat on the porch Dad had built with his hands. The same porch where we'd watched sunsets and talked about dreams and life. I thought about Mum's face when she realized I'd caught her. About Brandon's weak excuses. About how close I'd come to losing everything. But mostly, I thought about Dad. About his quiet wisdom in knowing exactly who Mum was. And protecting me anyway. About his gift of this house that was so much more than wood and walls. It was proof. Proof that I was loved. Proof that I was worthy. Proof that I deserved good things. Mum had tried to steal that proof, with forged papers and fake love. But some things can't be forged. Real love, real legacy, real worth. I had all three. The house stood solid around me, every corner filled with Dad's presence, with his belief in me, with his protection that reached beyond death. Mum had spent months planning to take it from me. But I'd had something she didn't count on. The truth, evidence, and the courage Dad had given me to fight for what was mine. I pulled out my phone and looked at my favorite photo of Dad. Him standing in front of this house the day he finished building it, covered in sawdust, grinning with pride. "I protected it, Dad," I whispered. "Just like you knew I would." The sunset painted the sky orange and pink. Birds sang in the garden he'd planted. And for the first time since the funeral 2 years ago, I felt complete peace. Mum had tried to destroy me with her schemes. Instead, she'd freed me. I finally understood that her love was never real, never worth chasing, and in understanding that, I could let it go. I had Dad's love. I had this house. I had friends who stood by me. I had everything that mattered. Mum could keep her bitterness and her broken relationships. I had